marine protected area networks in the Philippines. To do so, I will first introduce you to the concept of marine protected area. Then we will check the methods and tools used by Blue Finance during this investigation. And eventually, we will check the result of my work and have a small discussion about it. So, I don't know if you knew it, but actually, the very idea of marine protected area is quite ancient. For example, the Polynesian concept of tapu, which gave the word taboo in our culture, refer to something that is spiritually prohibited, something that is inviolable. And it's very far removed from the cliché that we have of the Polynesian culture as being very liberated, very permissive. But as these people had to survive on very small and very remote island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, they had to use every single resource in the most sustainable way. That's how they started to implement marine taboo in their island in order to use the fish stocks in the most efficient way possible. So the current MPAs comes in different types, different forms. They can be implemented for scientific, tourism, fisheries reasons, but the main idea is still, and it's always, implementing regulation and legislation for the activities in order to prevent, to safeguard the biodiversity. So the aim of marine protected area is, of course, to safeguard the ocean and its ecosystems. But why is it important? Well, according to the FAO, actually 37% of the human population, which is represent more than 2.7 billion of people, rely on the ocean for their food and their livelihood. So by preserving marine habitat and marine environment, we also preserve ecosystem services. These ecosystem services comes in different types. For example, as I said, food, but it can also be coastal protection with, for example, in the Philippines, tropical marine ecosystems such as coral reef, mangrove, that protect the coast from the storm and erosion. But it also increases the tourism attractiveness. It also acts as carbon sinks that help us to fight against climate change and many other types of benefits. So the current situation shows that only 4.7% of the ocean are currently under protection. And according to the IUCN, among these 4.7% of marine protected areas, only 46% of these MPA are actually efficient. The remaining 54% doesn't exist. Well, they only exist on paper and are very poorly or not implemented at all. Very recently, in 2016, during the last IUCN World Conservation Congress in Honolulu, which was in 2016, about 150 countries agreed on the aims of reaching 30% of the ocean under protection by 2030. So in the coming years, we will see a lot of new MPAs created, but will they be efficient? Will they be efficient for safeguarding the ecosystem? We don't know it yet. So in the Philippines, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources has launched an initiative in collaboration with the Global Environmental Facility and the United Nations Development Program, which is called the Smart Seas Initiative. The Smart Seas Initiative aims to stop the rapid degradation of marine and coastal habitats by strengthening the MPA networks in this country. That's why Blue Finance, as a partner of the UNDP, was contacted in order to find the most suitable sites among 5 different sites or MPA networks for implementing their method. So now we will see which methods were used by Blue Finance to assess the different sites. So the first aspect which was studied by Blue Finance was the impact feasibility of the MPA network proposed. So in each of the 5 sites, part of the Smart Cities initiatives, the Blue Finance has investigated how the project of MPA network will not only contribute to the ecosystem, the marine ecosystem, but also contribute to the local population by improving their livelihood, improving the local economy. The second aspect studied was the legal feasibility. So we conducted a study of the legal framework behind this site, so the local government, the jurisdictions that comes with, for example, the creation of new MPAs or the creation of public-private partnerships, and these kind of indicators, as well as how the already existing MPAs are implemented and enforced. And last but not least, the business feasibility, which investigate the tourism potential of the new MPA network by checking different indicators such as the number of tourism facility, transport facilities. And so the tool that was created by Blue Finance to combine all this data and try to identify the most suitable site is called a Financing Feasibility Scoring Matrix, and it comes in that form. So here is the first part of that matrix. It investigates the impact feasibility by just checking information, ecological indicators, for example, the coral cover, the total area covered by mangrove, coral reef, seagrass meadows, these kind of things, as well as the socioeconomic indicators such as the poverty rate and community impact, for example, how much the local economy needs to be developed and improved. So for all these indicators, the site is given a score out of 5. So the maximum score for the impact feasibility is 5. Then we have the second part of the matrix that studies the legal feasibility. It will also give a score out of 5. And it takes into account indicators such as the presence of regulation for public-private partnerships, the initial approval, initial support of local government for implementation of MPAs, well, a lot of different legal indicators such as these ones, as well as how the already existing MPA are implemented. So if they're actually very enforced, if people are already working for this MPA, and yeah, it's all there. And eventually, the third part is the business feasibility that study, for example, the number of tourism, as I say, the number of visitors in the MPA, the numbers of divers, as well as the tourism capacity by checking the numbers of hotel rooms available and the potential for creating new businesses. So at the end, it's also a score out of 5. So the maximum score is 5. So at the end, the matrix just had all the 3 scores, and it gives a total score, which is out of 5. So for this example, the site is given a final score of 9.3 out of 15. Yeah, and so all the data information needed to fill this matrix were actually found by checking governmental report, so from the Department of Tourism or Department of Environment and Natural Resources, checking scientific literature, consulting the Food and Agriculture Organization, and it was also very useful to contact the director, the manager of the Philippine branch of Blue Finance, which is called Alain Deloin here. And yeah, that's how we find all this data. And now let's have a look at the results. The first site that we have studied is Lanuza Bay. It's situated here in the northern part of the island of Mindanao, and it encompasses 16 different MPAs. The advantage of this site is that it still have a very good ecological indicator, such as very good coral cover, healthy coral reef, a lot of mangroves. The economy of the region still needs to be developed, and diversified. So it would be interesting for the local government to work on the establishment of marine protected area networks. But we can see there are still some bad indicators, such as the poor implementation of already existing MPAs, the low initial support from local government. It's very remote also, and the business feasibility is not really compatible with Blue Finance, because most of the tourist visitors that goes there, they just go there for surfing, because the area is very famous for having strong swells. So there's actually very few divers, so it could be difficult to implement Blue Finance methods here. So at the end, yeah, it's given a 9.3 out of 15 score. Second site was the Gulf of Laval. It's also in Mindanao Island, but in the southern part. It's very close to the island of Laval, which is the third biggest city in the country. And this site encompasses 15 different MPAs. Good indicators are, again, the very good ecological indicators. We have here a better implementation of the MPA legislation and management plan. It has a very good business feasibility because it's very close to Davao, which is a very big city, so it has an international airport. There are already a lot of tourists there, a lot of divers. But the only poor signal was coming from the already existing MPA legislation, which was still very low, very poor. So at the end, it gives a score of 11.1 out of 15. The third site was the Lanuza Strait, which is situated between the island of Cebu and Negros. It encompasses 17 MPAs. And the good indicators here is, once again, the good ecological indicators. But despite, well, in contrast to the other side, this one doesn't have any more mangrove or seagrass meadow. It's just coral reef. It has also good business feasibility because, once again, it's close to a big city, Cebu, which is the second biggest city in the country. Cebu Island is very densely populated, so there are a lot of potential visitors around here, and it's already very touristic. But the most annoying indicator is the NIPAS here. It means National Integrated Protected Area Systems. So it means that this site is already under the national jurisdictions. So all the revenue generated by this site will be collected by the national government. And it's quite difficult to implement public-private partnership while all the money generated will be given to the national government. So that's not compatible with Blue Finance. And the total score is 9.5 out of 15. The fourth site was the Verde Island Passage, which is situated between Luzon Island here and Mindoro in the south. It encompasses 47 different MPAs. It has very good ecological indicators, once again, with very good mangrove, coral reef, and seagrass meadows. The business feasibility is great because it's very close to Manila, which is the capital city and biggest city in the country, as well as one of the most populous cities in the world. So it has good access from international airport. It can be easily reached by people from all over the world, and it's already very popular among divers and visitors. So here we didn't find any bad indicators because the legislation for already existing MPAs are already well implemented and enforced. And at the end, it gives a score of 12.1 out of 15 for this site. The last one was southern Palawan. Palawan is this island here. It's quite touristic in the northern part, but we focus here on the southern part. And this site encompasses 5 different MPAs. The good indicators here are only the good ecological indicators. So the area is still very wild, very remote, so coral reef are healthy, mangrove and seagrass are also healthy. But as it's very remote, it's not really popular among tourists, not only because it's remote, but also because it's still dangerous. There are local tribes that are rebels, so they used to kidnap people. They do terrorist attacks. There's still malaria. So most of the tourism just go there because it's dangerous. So it would be quite difficult to implement businesses here in relation with a potential MPA network. So final score 8 out of 15. So at the end, Blue Finance has, of course, chosen the MPA network with the highest score, which was the Verde Island Passage here, with 12.1 out of 15. And yeah, that's where the next part of the work will be implemented, because all the work that we've seen here is just the first step for implementing efficient marine protected areas. There's still a lot to do. For example, creating a management plan for the MPA, and also looking for the most suitable partners for creating a co-management body for the MPAs. So it's interesting to keep in mind that all the indicators that have been studied by the matrix were actually inspired by previous example of successful and failure in MPA management, especially in the Philippines, where most of the inspiration was coming from two examples, Apo Island and Surigao Island, which are the two oldest MPAs in the country. Yeah, so thank you for listening.